Discussion items. 10A are traumatic brain injury.
Do you want to keep us focused, Mr. Chair?
I'll keep us focused. Do we have any information that we're starting with on that, or we're starting to discuss?
My understanding is that we were just going to talk tonight about where we want to go from here.
Okay.
Which I think is real progress, getting to at least this stage.
Yeah. Getting to this stage, meaning it's been out there as a topic that we just haven't taken up?
Yes, it's something that's been out there in public discussion for what, the last 10 years? Laura Wishick and I wanted it taken up, and we're told we'd get a report, and we didn't get a report, and nobody seemed to care. And I asked about it subsequently, and nobody seemed really interested, and I finally tried again, and lo and behold, people want to have the discussion. So I'm very pleased by that. But one thing that Michael brought up was the possibility of having an expert from the University of Washington come in and do a sort of public session on, the current state of knowledge and belief.
More of a community event than just...
Yeah, which I think would be great. I think it would be great as long as the focus was on risk and the questions were addressed to risk. It could be a time for people both for and against to, orate on football or the value of sports or whatever, and I don't think it's the stage for that. But I think it would be a great service, actually, to do that.
What is the desired outcome of not just this public forum, but having, where do you see this going and what's success look like?
What does success look like? In part, success looks like finally acknowledging what everybody else in the country who pays any attention to sports knows, which is that this is an issue at this point. And I think we should have a discussion of it. I think we should get some sense of what the risks are and how, if at all, they can be mitigated, and then decide what we want to do, which is either what we got now is okay, or what we have would be okay if we did A, B, and C, or maybe we want to say certain sports should not be sponsored by the school district anymore. And it seems to me to have a really open-minded discussion, you got to be willing to go to that number 3, although I don't think we will. I do not foresee us.
So that
Going to that discussion, or
No,
actually acting?
acting on canning a sport. But I think we got to be prepared to if we're really going to go into this with open minds.
So implicit in your question is that it is not known, that the soccer parents and kids do not know the risk of a broken ankle or the risk of a broken knee or the risk of a concussion. And I'm not sure that that's the case. So I just want to challenge that. Do we believe that families are not acknowledging or not knowledgeable enough about the risks posed to their children? Is that what you're saying? Is that kind of what you're surmising?
Well, I'm not talking about risks other than those to the brain, actually. I mean, I think it's obvious that, you can turn your ankle or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think some of what's out there is not really known, I know my 10-year-old grandson is playing soccer on 2 teams. They are not allowed to hit the ball, period.
How old is he?
10. And it's always been part of soccer, but it doesn't have to be. You can tweak the rules, and you could do it at the high school level.
Right, Bob, I think that's a good question, though, is, we all, if our children participate in sports, you have to sign the thing that says, sign the form that says, I acknowledge that there's a certain amount of risk in this, but how to heart do people really take that? And I think it would be very interesting to have whoever this person is from University of Washington come and talk, but it's going to be, it'll be challenging, I think, to have that open, very, very open-minded conversation where it could be one, 2, or 3.
I do too. I do too, and it's sort of something I sort of dread, but I think it's irresponsible not to.
But is it to talk, to educate us?
It's both.
Both.
To talk,
You said have the UW person come. Is it to talk and to educate us, the board?
Well,
Is
that's
it
the
to talk
question.
to educate the community? That's what I want to get at. What are we trying to do here?
Right. I think it would be to talk to us and the community.
Because the community doesn't come to the board meetings.
Right.
No, but we could host a community event. He means in large numbers.
But I mean,
One.
yeah, but I mean,
No, but
At the scale he's hoping.
No, but Bob, like
and your kids aren't presumably playing soccer and football, but maybe they are, right?
the,
You're not the target audience of this
You have to
discussion, I
put
think.
public welcome on the sign.
I think that's the shortcoming there.
If we are part of the school district, we are part of the
Yeah,
argument.
that's right, yeah, of
Right.
course.
And if I could make one suggestion, don't make it the University of Washington. They have a sports program. You need independent neurologists.
You could probably help with that.
Probably could.
I really
I
like,
think making any chair just
I think in the spirit of transparency and openness, having a community-oriented meeting that's not a school board session, or we can attend, but the idea is let's all learn about the risks of brain injury in all sports in which we support in the school district. Because I don't know any more as a school board member than I do as a parent. And I think inviting the whole community to be involved in that, in one of these sessions, could be more well-attended, less agenda-driven, right? We're all there with an equal opportunity to learn. And there's no reason for certain people to know more than others.
But I mean, I'm back to implicit in this discussion is that there's an information gap and that parents don't know that. And I just want to state that do we really believe that? That parents are unknowing about the risks to their soccer player of getting a concussion or their
well,
football player?
if we say to parents, we've had this discussion, and I'm not saying that this is what we're going to do, but I'm just saying, if we said to parents, we've opened up this discussion, and like what Dan said, these are our three options as we see them, and we're going to come to a decision about that. We are going to decide that, and we want information. We want everyone to be involved in that conversation because it shouldn't just be the five of us making that decision, I think. So let's, with the understanding that you have signed those forms and you have read articles and you do know about CTE, but come and let's see what else we can learn, and let's have let's have the discussion where we say, what's the end game here? What does sports on Vashon look like?
But banning soccer is not likely going to be the...
And maybe that's not what let's leave it open-ended and see what we come to. And I don't know, hopefully it would be a good conversation and not an ugly, like Dan saying, like it turns out to be like a, I don't know, just use your imagination, but.
As long as we all gang up on lacrosse.
I think
They're still in everybody's players.
I think the preamble is that we all have a lot to learn as educators and as parents and community members. Let's go learn. We don't need to decide what the end game is now.
I think that's the most important thing, is that we learn so we can make informed decisions about things. I think for coaches to learn both about the risks and preparation to avoid the risks. You can, almost all these activities, you can do them in a variety of ways, and some are more higher risk techniques than others. So how you tackle in football, for example, can be really avoiding head contact, or it can be primarily with
And
that.
how you practice and prepare.
And knowing that and teaching it, and then, I don't know if enforcing is the right word, but enforcing that you do it in the least risky way is certainly, it's just like.
Clay is doing that. Soccer coaches already, go ahead.
Well, by policy or because that's their.
They are, I, as a soccer coach, have had, and I don't pretend to be a neurologist, so don't get me wrong. But, you know, there's a required concussion protocol and all the stuff that you're required to do. And Clay, I know, they're teaching how to tackle without using bleeding with your head. And the people that are actually doing this, and this is their business, are, I'm not defending football or pro or con others, but to assume that the football coaches are novices to safe techniques is a presumption that I'm not sure that is borne out in.
I wouldn't say that,
Yeah,
I would not make that assumption. In fact, I do assume that people are trying to make it safe. I mean, there's a real question out there to what extent football can be safe.
Yep.
That's the
Take their
question.
helmets off, take their pads off, that would make it safer.
But that, I think, is the question.
Right.
You know, WIAA has required our coaches to be trained in you know, all kinds of preventative practices, but the real question is that is the activity inherently dangerous, no matter what you do, and should we allow it?
By having an impartial third-party expert talk about the evidence, then that would be very helpful, because it's emotionally charged topic.
It is.
So,
And there is new evidence in the last.
there's certainly an evolving.
Yeah.
So what are next steps?
What I'm hearing is that you'd like to have some kind of an open forum.
And we have our chair.
What?
We have our chair.
Oh, yeah. And that we would identify some credible experts, neurologists, and what I was aware of was that the UW was doing the major study around the NFL head trauma, and that was the guy that I had heard was good, but you know, I'm open to finding the right person, and that it would. I guess the focus of the evening would be about what's the risk of brain trauma with various sports, you know, no matter kind of what you do. I mean, you know, what's the inherent risk that you have to do, and the conversation always does go to mitigation, but I think in some cases we're beyond mitigation in terms of what you can do to mitigate risk, and that they're just inherently risky. And I think that's what we're going to learn about. And then I think the board's in kind of an interesting position of, what do you do with that? And does Vashon become the first community where we say, hey, we're not doing this anymore?
No football, lacrosse, wrestling, or soccer?
And it will be, you know, the families that are playing soccer or baseball or whatever are inherently the ones that are, the market has spoken for them, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so it will be the parents or the community members of the kids playing, deciding for the people who don't want to play, deciding for those who do. And that's why I'm saying, I'm wondering if this is ultimately going to end up in a productive place, but that will be for you all to decide. Is it going to be a majority vote of the parent, you know, the totality of the community saying, you know, we want to ban soccer or football, even though you guys want to play? But that's your call.
But I think the importance really, I mean, is that we're having this conversation. Right, that we just, and maybe we just have this conversation and we all say, huh, it's risky, you know?
When you talk about
So just
mitigation,
walk
there's
down the street.
also, and Toby, you mentioned education for us. Part of the program can be education for kids, for students, as to what exactly the risks are, and why people are concerned about it. And
The brain is, you only get one of them.
Yeah.
And brain damage, I presume, in many instances can be forever. Not always forever, but many times forever.
Yep. So that's what I'm interested in, is not necessarily the end game of, not to take it off the table, of banning things, but what can we do to be more informed participants?
Yeah, maybe it does become part of the curriculum, healthy living and PE at an early stage.
Or part of the sport itself.
Oh, yeah, I think it would be part of the sport itself. You know, if you decide that we're going to have football, then I think young Will Hennessy ought to be required to know what the heck the risk is to his
He
brain.
needs to read Martin's report on head injuries.
Did Martin do a report?
Yes.
Young Martin?
Yes.
Okay, well, I think young Martin
Yes. I'm sure he is
He
the
should be
start
on
of
the-
it,
he
but
should
he
be on
was
the committee.
enlightened. He was a little bit surprised.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
so,
Do you want to take any comments from me?
actually, I would love to. I apologize. I haven't done it yet. So, would you like to weigh in? Or?
I think you're going to need to strongly look at this. I don't know if, I was going to see if there was a history of a boxing program in the school district at any time.
Boxing?
Not that I know of.
Was there, I mean, how far do we go back in that? And if there is no longer, how did it go away? So things do go away. And this, chronic traumatic encephalopathy is with us. And there is some work being done in Boston where they're looking at a blood protein that can specifically say whether you're dealing with it or not. And that comes out of the football arena where they're doing this testing program. So even if your child does not play a sport and you are a participant in this school district, you are on the hook for lawsuits that can come out of this. It's not just the people their children are playing sports are on the hook for the lawsuit. The whole school district is. So I think you've got a serious discussion on your hands. And what you're dealing with now is you can't unhear this stuff.
You can't unhear?
You can't unhear this stuff.
Yeah.
So you better do something going forward. Certainly not a threat, but you got to do something for the kids.
Thank you. I apologize I wasn't here. Your name and
Tag Gornell.
Hank or no? And you obviously work in this field, closely related?
No.
Or you just read about it?
I'm a retired veterinarian. I just herd cats.
He's way more than retired in this community.
So I have a comment. So I would wonder if other school districts are having this conversation. Or maybe they've had somebody already come and talk to them and would have a name of somebody that was good. Or,
Right. Yeah, we definitely don't have to invent.
right. I would imagine the other schools are, this conversation comes up all the time.
Yeah, they're in the same situation.
Yeah, same.
Certainly.
Are there, is there a board member or two that has interest in helping do the research that it would take to pull something like this together?
Sure.
Maybe contacting them. Are you in? Dan's in.
I am the liaison to the WAIA, whatever it is.
Toby's in.
But I can help, I can ask them
And I
what
can
resources they have,
Yeah.
and I can find out if they know of other schools, what's happened.
That
Because in a
would
certain
be,
way, this is, it should really be more than just our school district. It should be a state issue, national
Yeah.
issue, global issue.
We
But
can be the leaders on
is that in your budget?
it. My mental
okay.
budget.
Well, we can work on, developing some ideas about who might be good to bring in and what a forum might look like. And right now, the result of that would be, or the purpose would just be education about the relative risk of traumatic brain injury related to school athletics. It's kind of what we're stating is going to be the focus on that. You got that, Jody? That came out exquisitely clear.
Can I add a comment to that?
Yeah.
If you decide, say ultimately, that you don't want to have football or soccer here, lacrosse is a club sport, right? Would you allow them to play on the field? There's a lot of,
They do.
yeah,
You're asking-
and kids get concussed in lacrosse too.
My personal preference would be that would not be our business, but that's my personal, because it's being done under the auspices of the Vashon Park District. And
So you would be okay with renting or however you do
I'm
to
not
the
sure
park
this is a
district or?
question.
No, yeah. I think we're not
Get rid of
ready to
the
go
far
there,
field.
but it would come up at some point, for sure.
No, it's not nothing, Mike. It's like,
No, it's just not- it's
we're not
not-
going to let kids from the district play, but we're fine with renting our facilities so that other people can get concussed. I think that's a little bit,
Time to have the conversation, that's all.
It's exactly the conversation, I agree.
It's always time to be safe with our kids, always.
Okay.
That's my feeling.
Okay.
I agree. Okay, thanks to everyone.